Anand Sutram, first chapter. Shakti Sha Shivasya Shakti. Shakti, the operative principle, is the Shakti force of Shiva. Purport: every object has a material cause and an efficient cause. Over and above these, there is also a conjunctive agency linking the Upadana Karan, material cause, with the Nimitta Karan, efficient or instrumental cause. The determination of the firmness or laxity of the relation of the material cause with the efficient cause depends on the degree of conjunctive function. In the process of creation, Purusha is the material factor and Prakriti is the linking force consummating the relation between the material and the efficient causes. As the efficient cause, Purusha is the primary factor and Prakriti is the secondary one. Purusha is the all-pervading entity, and so no one else except him can be the material cause. Prakriti, not being all-pervading, is the shelter in Purusha. In the body of Purusha, Prakriti can only work as much as she is given opportunity to by Purusha. And so, in the science of creation, Purusha alone as the doer entity is the chief efficient or instrumental cause. And since Prakriti has been posing as the doer with the authority given to her by Purusha, she is the subordinate efficient cause. The distortion or expressions which are taking place in the material cause through the efficient cause and which we call worldly manifestations are affected by the three gunas, attributes or binding principles, sattva, raja and tama of Prakriti. This accounts for Prakriti being the linking force between the efficient cause and the material cause. So the firmness or feebleness of the object body fully depends upon the degree of the influence of Prakriti. The role of Purusha is foremost in all the spheres. Prakriti only acts to whatever extent Purusha has authorized or authorizes her to act. In the process of evolution, Purusha gives Prakriti the authority to work and she goes on working. The subtle Purusha goes on attaining crudity gradually due to the bondage of the three gunas of Prakriti. In the ultimate state of his crudity, Purusha slowly and gradually keeps shriveling up the opportunity and liberty of Prakriti previously given to her, and thus the crudified Purusha, gradually regaining his subtlety, returns to his own ultimate characteristic state. The flow of manifestations of the Purush Deha, cognitive body, under the binding influence of Prakriti is what we call sanskara, extroversion from the subtle to the crude, while the gradual process of liberation that results in the Purush Deha due to progressive looseness of the bondage is what we call pratisanskara, introversion from the crude to the subtle. It is now abundantly clear that even though Prakriti is free to make honest use of her acquired power, the attainment or non-attainment of this power depends on Purusha or Chitta Shakti, cognitive principle. And so we have to say, Prakriti is but the characteristic of Purusha himself. Shakti Sha Shivasya Shakti. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परमपिता बाबा की जय। तयो सिद्धि संचरे प्रति संचरे च पुरुषा and Prakriti find their fulfillment in sanskara, extroversial movement, and pratisanskara, introversial movement. Purport: the existence of any entity is known by the process of its activity, thought, or witnesship, of which witnesship belong to Purusha and the other two substantiating factors primarily belong to Prakriti. And so the fact of Prakriti being the causal entity of the stream of action and thought will be recognized only when she completely identifies herself with objectivity. This appropriation of objectivity by Prakriti depends on her ever increasing sanskara or decreasing pratisanskara influence on Purusha. Prakriti manifestations lies in the sanskara and pratisanskara processes. In all these manifestations of Prakriti, Purusha exists not only as the material cause but as the witness as well in all states and conditions. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परम पिता बाबा की जय। परम शिव पुरुषोत्तम विश्वस्य केंद्रम. Supreme consciousness at the nucleus of the universe is known as Param Shiva or Purushottama. Purport. The trivalent Prakriti has been apparently crudifying the original Purusha through her own binding forces. This is one of the processes of her activity. Her other process being that by gradually relaxing the influence of her three attributes on the crude object, she regains the characteristic of Purusha, thus putting an end to her binding operation. The first named process of Prakriti is centrifugal and the other one is centripetal. The Brahma Chakra or Srishti Chakra, cosmic cycle, is manifested through the combination of these very centrifugal and centripetal actions. The nucleus of this cosmic cycle is indeed the Swabhava, characteristic bearing of Purusha. The material cause of the entire Brahma Chakra is Purusha or Shiva, and we shall call this nucleus Param Shiva or Purushottama. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परम पिता बाबा की जय। प्रवृत्ति मुखी संचरः गुणधारायाम. Sanskara in the cosmic cycle is the gradual extrovertial movement under the increasing influence of the gunas, binding principles. Purport. The object-ward movement or expression of Purusha from the nucleus of the Brahma Chakra under the influence of Prakriti is called Pravritti, extrovertial phase. As the result of the initial impact of Prakriti on the witnessing Purushottama, there awakens in him the sense of existence, which is in the language of philosophy is called the Mahatattva, essential I, and the operative force concerned, whereby this Mahatattva comes into being is called Sattva Guna, the sentient principle of Prakriti. Guna means binding principle. The second impact of the operative force of Prakriti result in the emergence of the sense of doership or authorship. This change expression of Purusha is called the Aham Tattva, doer I, and the operative force concerned is called Rajoguna, the mutative principle of Prakriti. Finally, through the greater impact of the operative force of Prakriti in the wake of her successive attacks, comes the crudest objectivity or complete objectivation of Purusha, the crudest objective counterpart of the subjective cosmos. This condition of Purusha is called Chitta, mind stuff, the operative force concerned, whereby such objectivation takes place is called Tamoguna, the static principle of Prakriti. That is to say, with the onset pravritti, desire and attachment, sanskara is used right from one and the same Purusha through the gradual process of the gunas. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परम पिता बाबा की जय। निवृत्ति मुखी प्रतिसंचरः गुणावक्षयेन. Pratisanskara in the cosmic cycle is the gradual introvertial movement under the varying influence of the gunas. Purport. The excess of vritti, desire, is pravritti, attachment or the accelerated momentum of desire. The recessive or waning momentum of vritti is nivritti, detachment or the loss of desire in the introvertial phase. During the centrifugal movement, desire finds its fullest expression in Purusha under the static influence of Prakriti. The Chitta entity that comes into play in the body of Purusha under the static influence of Prakriti, when accepted by the Jivatman, the individual soul or the subjective part of the microcosm, as something perceivable or knowable, appears as the five gross physical elements, 10 indriyas, organs, and five tanmatras, sensible and supersensible inference or generic essences. When the attributional flows reaches its finality, then start the shedding of the gunas. That is to say, Purusha then keeps contracting the power of Prakriti. The result is that Prakriti, attracted by Purusha, gets drawn to Purushottama. Consequently, again, the five gross physical elements gradually get metamorphosed into body, vital energy, and mind of the unit. Finally, the unit mind merges into Purushottama as the result of shedding of the binding principle. It is because of merger of the unit mind into its primal cause that the ultimate state of Pratisanskara is a non-attributive one. This may be called the dissolution of the individual life. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परमपिता बाबा की जय। दृक् पुरुषः दर्शनं शक्तिश्च। Purusha is the substantiator, the ultimate witness. The actional faculty of Prakriti is the act of witnessing and that which is witnessed. Purport. Acting is saying, witnessing is substantiation. In the absence of the latter, saying remains unsubstantiated. Thinking, speaking, moving, accepting, these fall in the category of action. The witnessship that vouches for the existence of these activities, that substantiative bearing is Purusha, and the expression of activity that takes place under his witnessship is charged with the gunas of Prakriti. If we call the expression of the material waves actional faculty, its apparent witness will be the Chitta entity. If the Chitta expression be termed actional faculty, then its apparent witness will be the Aham Tattva or ego. If the expression or manifestation of the ego be called actional faculty, then its apparent witness will be the Mahatattva, sense of I-ness. If we call the sense of I-ness actional faculty, then its witnessship, that is, I know, I amness, will be acceptable as the ultimate witness. This I know is not the apparent witness of anybody or anything. It is the absolute witness of everything in all conditions. Hence, candidly, this bearing alone falls in the category of ultimate cognition. This, in truth, is the attributed consciousness of Purusha. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परमपिता बाबा की जय। गुण बंधनेन गुणाभिव्यक्ति। As the gunas increase their bondage, they express themselves fully in the emergence of the fundamental factors. Purport. Guna means binding principle. The stronger the bondage upon anything, the cruder the thing becomes. When in her freedom acquired from Purusha, Prakriti binds Purusha, the conscious Purusha gets metamorphosed in the Mahatattva, Aham Tattva, Chitta, etc. under the ever-increasing binding factors, and then as the result of the gradually greater and still greater bondage of Tamoguna, they come into being as per degrees of crudification, the ethereal, the aerial, the luminous, the liquid, and ultimately the solid factors. Even in the latter, there are degrees of bondage. On account of the firmness of bondage, The interatomic and intermolecular distances go on decreasing. As the result of which, the internal frictions in the material body go on increasing. The external pressure of the attributional bondage and the internal friction compel greater and greater attributional expression in the bodies of objects. Here one should bear in mind that attributional expression does not mean the excess of attributional capabilities, but that of the attributional manifestations as well as the attributional diversities. The Akash Tattva ethereal factor has the sound carrying attribute. If suppose we fix its measure at 100, in that case, when the Akash Tattva gets metamorphosed into the Vayu Tattva, aerial factor, on account of greater static boundary, the attribute of touch is also expressed therein alone with the sound carrying attribute. But the attributional capacity remains what it is, unenhanced. The sound carrying attribute wane in the Vayu Tattva as compared to the Akash Tattva. But all the same, the combined measure of the sonic and the tactual attributes still remains at 100. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परम पिता बाबा की जय। गुणाधिक्ये जड़ स्फोट भूत साम्या भावात। Due to excessive pressure of the gunas, proper balance among the bhutas, 5 fundamental factors is lost and jada sphota, explosion of matter occurs. Purport: if even after the transformation of the object body into Chiti Tattva, the solid factor, the onslaught of the binding principle continues unabated, the equipage of the element gets lost and jada spota, explosion of matter takes place. As a result of this explosion, Chiti Tattva, due to its excessive internal friction, gets pulverized into subtler elements such as the air, liquid, tejas, luminous, marut, aerial, and vyom, ethereal factors, completely or partially, that is to say, its movement undergoes the process of negative sanskara. Nevertheless, the resultant subtler elements after the explosion of course retake the same old path of samskara. The ethereal elements of the cosmic mind gets gradually cruder and cruder as per degree of the ever increasing flow of the gunas. That is, from Akasha or Vyoma to Marut, from Marut to Tejas, and Tejas to Air, and from Air to Chiti. The more the progress of these metamorphoses, the more varied the attributional diversities noticeable in the material bodies, and their dimensions also get shrunk and diminished. The dimensional contraction means the increase of internal frictions, and this happens due to the excess or magnitude of the external attributional flow. Due to these excessive internal frictions, explosion takes place in the material bodies and they get pulverized into subtler elements. These explosions, owing to hyperattributional pressure, occurs only when the degree of the tension of the solid element becomes abnormally high as compared to other elements. In the absence of any wide disparities, either too high or too low in the tensional relations of the element, living organisms come into being instead of explosion. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी परमपिता बाबा की जय। गुण प्रभावेन भूत संघर्षात् बलम। Due to the increasing influence of the gunas, clash occurs among the fundamental factors and bala, energy is produced. Purport: the firmer the binding factor on the object body, the greater the internal friction in it. The clash or play of forces is called bala or prana, power or energy. This prana exists more or less in all objects or elements. although its expression has not taken place or does not take place in them in equal proportion. Shri Ananda Murti ji. Dehe kendrikani parinam bhutani balani prana. The resultant internal force forming the nucleus within the physical structure and maintaining its solidarity is called prana, vital energy. Purport: if the resultant force, the force that comes into being as a result of both external and internal frictions in the object body, find its own nucleus in some part of that body, the powers or energies active in that body are collectively called prana, vital energy. The word prana is used in the Sanskrit language in the plural number because it really stands for 10 vayus, vital forces in the body. Shri Shri Ananda Murti ji. तीव्र संघर्षेण चूर्णीभूतानि जड़ानि चित्तानुमानस धातु वा. Due to excessive clash, some crude matter is pulverized and chittanu, ectoplasmic particles or mind stuff, is evolved. Purport: if the manifestation of energy be too great in the object body, some portion of the crude entity gets pulverized as the result of excessive friction in the object body and gets metamorphosed into chittanu, mind stuff, which is subtler than either. That is to say, mind is born out of matter. Vyashtidehe chittanu samvayen chittbodha. Through the combination of ectoplasmic particles in the unit structure, the feeling of chitta, objective mind, evolves. Purport: the coordinated totality of all the chittanu, ectoplasmic particles that remain in the individual object body, centering around its totality, constitute the sense of chitta of that body. This chitta is the done I or objective I of the unit mind. Unperceived shall remain all the perceptions, whether seen or heard, of an individual unless the chitta identifies itself with their reflection on itself. Shri Shri Ananda Murti ji. Chittat gunavachaye rajo gun prabalye aham. As the influence of the gunas wanes and rajoguna becomes dominant, the aham, sense of doership, evolved out of the chitta. Purport: when by the attraction of Purushottama, the cosmic nucleus, the mind stuff is gradually girded forward under the influence of Vidyashakti, the introversial force, the predominance of Tamoguna gradually wanes and the increasing influence of the Rajoguna becomes evident. The part of the mind body where the predominance of Rajoguna is noticeable is called the Aham Tattva, doer I or owner I. Shri Shri Ananda Murti ji, Paramita Baba ki jai. Sukshmabhimukini gati rudaye aham tattvan mahat. With a further movement towards the subtle, the mahat evolves out of the aham tattva. Purport: by the attraction of Vidya Shakti, even the influence of Rajoguna over the aham tattva gradually starts shedding, indicating the predominance of Sattva Guna. The part of the aham tattva where the predominance of Sattva Guna is established is called the Mahatattva, pure I feeling. Shri Shri Ananda Murti ji. Chitta daham prabalye buddhi. When the aham is greater than the chitta, the buddhi, intellect, evolves. Purport: if the periphery of the aham be greater than that of the chitta less surplus portion is called the buddhi, intellect. Aham tattvat mahat prabalye bodhi. When the mahat is greater than the aham, the bodhi intuition evolves. Purport: if the dimension of the mahatattva be greater than that of the Aham Tattva, the surplus part of the Mahat is called the Bodhi, intuition. Mahadahang varjite anagrasare jivadehe lata gulme kevalang chittam. In undeveloped living organisms, creepers and shrubs, where Aham and Mahat have not yet evolved, there is only Chitta. Purport: it may be discernible in undeveloped organisms or creepers and shrubs that the manifestations of Chitta only has taken place, but not that of Mahatattva or Aham Tattva. Sri Ananda Murti Ji. महद्वर्जिते अनग्रसरे जीवदेहे लता गुल्मे चित्तयुक्ताहम. In undeveloped organisms, creepers and shrubs, where Mahat has not yet evolved, there is Aham as well as Chitta. Purport: it may also be that in undeveloped organisms or creepers and shrubs, the manifestation of Mahat has not taken place, but those of Aham and Chitta have. Pragrasare jivadehi lata gulme manushe mahadahang chittani. In developed organisms, creepers and shrubs, as well as in human, there is Mahat, Aham and Chitta. Purport: in comparatively developed organisms, creepers and shrubs, as well as in human beings, all three, Mahatattva, Aham Tattva and Chitta, get manifested. Bhuma vyapte mahati aham chittayor pranashe saguna sthiti savikalpa samadhi va. When the Aham and the Chitta merge into the microcosmic Mahat, the merger is called Saguna Sthiti or Savikalpa Samadhi. Purport: when after continued spiritual practice, the Mahatattva, that is the I feeling, gets metamorphosed into the microcosmic I feeling, the Chitta of the microcosmic mind merges in the Aham and the Aham merges in the Mahat. When the object merges in its cause, the merger is called Pralaya or Pranasha, utter destruction. Since the Chitta of the macrocosm grows out of the macrocosmic Aham and the macrocosmic Aham out of the macrocosmic Mahat, when in Pratisanskara and reversal movement, the unit Chitta merges in the Aham and the Aham in the Mahat, to call it Pranasha is quite logical or reasonable. The state of utter destruction of the Chitta and the Aham and the state of all pervasiveness of the Mahat constitute Saguna Sthiti, the state of transcendentality, or Savikalpa Samadhi, the trance of determinate absorption. Atmani Mahad Pranashe Nirguna Sthiti Nirvikalpa Samadhi Va. When the Mahat merges into the Atman, it is called Nirguna Sthiti, state of objectlessness, or Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the trance of indeterminate absorption or total suspension of the mind. Purport: the totally absorbed state of the Mahat, after merging that I feeling in the Chitti Shakti cognitive principle, rather than doing the sadhana of installing the Mahat in the microcosmic Mahat, is Nirguna Sthiti, a state of objectlessness, or Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the trance of indeterminate absorption or total suspension of the mind. Due to the absence of any guna, this state is called Nirguna Sthiti, the state of objectlessness. This state is verbally inexpressible because tasya sthiti amanashikesu. The state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi is beyond the mind. Purport: this state of objectlessness being beyond the orbit of the mind, it is not mentally apprehensible. Abhavottarananda pratyaya lamba nivriti tasya pramanam. The lingering bliss which follows this state of vacuity is the proof of that state, the means of firm belief in that state. Purport: in the state of wakefulness, all three stages of the mind, namely conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, remain active. But the settler condition is inconspicuous due to the activeness of the cruder condition. While dreaming, the crude or conscious mind remains dormant. The subconscious and the unconscious mind remain active. During sleep, only the unconscious mind remains active. The opinion that the state of sleep is the state of the sense of vacuity is unacceptable to a subtle philosophical judgment, because at that time the works of both the conscious and the subconscious minds are done by the unconscious mind. The real state of vacuity is verily the state of utter destruction of the mind. And so even Savikalpa Samadhi is not a state of vacuity. Only the state of Nirvikalpa is the state of vacuity. In this state of absolute vacuity, the spiritual waves of exhilaration that fill the unit entity still continue to flow and trail on for some time even after that state of vacuity. That is, after the mind returns due to unserved sanskaras, the consequential reactive momenta of one's past deeds. These very trailing waves of exhilaration and joyous exuberance keep reminding the mindful sadhaka, inspirational practitioner, that his or her mindless state had been one of absolute bliss. Shri Shri Ananda Murti ji. Bhavahatitayoh setu tarak brahma. The bridge between Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma is called Tarak Brahma, liberating Brahma. Purport: the common point bridging together the empirical state of Saguna and the made empirical state of Nirguna is called Tarak Brahma. Tarak Brahma appears in Saguna, embodied from as Mahasambhuti. श्री श्री आनंद मूर्ति जी, परमपिता बाबा की जय।